Now,
This conference will now be recorded.
if the clerk will please call roll.
Counselor Hildebrand,
Present.
Counselor Arnold. Present. Counselor Peppa,
Here.
Counselor Gordon.
Sure.
You have a quorum.
Thank you, ma'am. If we can talk about the approval of the agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to propose some amendments. And I'd like to do number 7, make it item 1. And I would like to do item 3 and make it 2. And then the lease agreements, 3. 4 is the economic benefit analysis. 5, the coordinated amended to the zoning ordinance. And 6 is the resolution to collaborate in a community health partnership program. And let's see, we need to, I don't know, you want to do that? Or you want me to go ahead and remove some stuff?
Remove them too.
Okay, and item 6, I needed, would offer to move it and go right to finance. I've got some inkling about that. It's a money deal. And also the city code, administrative code that we were supposed to look at yesterday is on the item today. Due to the illness of our attorney, I think we need to hold out on that too.
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to change the agenda. Should the clerk get that?
So you're making number 7, number 1,
Correct.
and then you're going after that with the removal of number 6 to finance and number 8 removing completely, correct? No.
Well, in
No.
item 6 now becomes, no, item 7. First, let's remove 6 and 8
Right.
was the motion. Item 7 now becomes item 1.
Item 3 becomes 2. Item 1 becomes 3. Item 2 becomes item 4. Item 4 becomes 5. And item 5 becomes 6.
Okay,
Got it?
yes.
Okay.
Okay. Have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
All right.
Opposed, same. There being no opposition, so moved.
I like that. You don't even take a breath.
No. Approval of the minutes from the legal committee meeting on Thursday, October 27th, 2022. Motion.
Well, I moved it last time. I was letting somebody else do it this time.
Go down the table. It's your turn there, Counselor Arnold.
Oh, mine. Oh, damn. Okay. So I'd like, Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion for the approval of the minutes from the legal committee meeting on Thursday, October 27th, 2022.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, same. There being none, so approved. We shall move on to item 1. But before item 1, I will have to depart this meeting at 10 minutes after 5 because I have a ETZ authority meeting at the county at 5:30. So Councilor Arnold as the co-chair, vice chair over at that time. So now we go to item 1, which is considering recommending to full council the proposed employment contract for the city clerk, Amalia, which is now back
Stuck in here somewhere.
back in the back of your packet.
Oh, no. Okay.
It's way deep in there.
It's not numbered, so.
Is, can't tell you page because you don't have one.
Right. Almost full.
Vehicular maintenance.
Did you find it?
No, keep going.
It's right here.
Did you find it?
I have, I think.
No.
Well, I'm getting. Like this.
Okay.
Yeah, it says one on the bottom of your sheet. How come you're so privileged?
Oh, found it. Found it.
Okay.
I'm in the second page. Okay,
Okay, I didn't know we were having contact.
always.
Do we have,
Test is online.
Counselor,
Yeah,
Counselor, are you prepared? Or able?
Sorry, I sound awful. You know, it's funny. I look and smell awful, and on top of that, I'm sick. It's really bad news. But yes, there's no slide for this one because I thought it was pretty straightforward. The contract is based upon the manager's contract in its entirety. There have been almost no changes, with the notable exception of no moving fees, as Miss Amalia is already in Roswell. And her salary is on page 2, I believe. And that was negotiated between her, the mayor, and Mr. Matthews.
I'll take this off.
Mr.
Some
Matthews?
back-
Yeah, and to you, Counselor, and to Mr. Matthews, I do have a question. I know this has been modeled after the manager's contract, but item 3.12, automobile allowance. What in terms would her need to be using her personal automobile for?
Goes to multiple meetings, and she doesn't have a city staff vehicle to do that, so she uses her personal vehicle to run to all the.
But we reimburse for mileage, yes.
That's another way to do it. You can do the mileage.
I think
Is she satisfied with the $300 versus mileage? Okay.
I'll take the mileage in a heartbeat.
I would too.
Okay, one negotiation.
Be satisfied with. And I assume, I don't want to assume anything, but Amalia is satisfied with this contract the way it sits?
She has not expressed to me that she was not in favor of it.
Mr. Chair, I spoke with her last week about it, and she was happy with the contract as presented.
I also visited with her. She seemed excited about having to wear one hat instead of two.
Yeah.
And I said, well, which hat do you want to wear? She smiled and said, the one that's before,
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman.
And, and I want to, salary negotiation was in line.
Yes, sir.
Councilor Ortega.
On the salary issue, is she going to be put on the merit system that she will have a percent every year? Go up the range and so forth?
That is how this is structured, which is the same as how the management is structured, yes.
Yeah, she won't be under the merit system, but she will be wages adjusted like she's under the merit system, as I
Right.
understand.
Yes.
And that's, and Mr. Chairman, if I might, I mean, I've worked through these kind of issues before, and that's generally how they're all settled anymore. And I mean, it's easy to keep it categorized, merit system, non-merit system, but in reality, that's not really the way it works.
Right.
Does that answer your,
Yeah, thank you.
you bet. Any further questions? Councilor Foster.
My only big concern is the under 4 professional drone residency requirement. All right, well, it's not put that as back one more. All right, employment under 2.7 residency requirement. I understand that she may not have a problem with it, but in the future, is this, I mean, I know if I ask our manager right now, the city manager, if we forced him to move into the city, he doesn't, I mean, that's one of those questions. It's questionable. I mean, if someone lives on the outskirts, I don't think that.
Yeah.
But why do we have it in the contract that we're forcing them to live within the city limits?
I'm just going to, that's the way the managers was written, and that was the same format. I'm not opposed to what you're suggesting. Are you suggesting a Chaves County?
Yeah, I would say within 20 minutes of, I mean, within 20 minutes of the city limits, just so, I mean, I know like firefighters and police, there's usually a distance so that if they're on call, they can get to the city, within the city.
Sure.
If they're living within, I mean, I hate to, I know right now Amalia is okay with that, but in the future, that might not be something that we want in the contract. So what? It's not something that I actually like to put in.
I'm fine. Just change that to Chaves County.
I'd be good with it. Well, I don't know. If they live down in Duncan, it would take them a lot longer than 20 minutes to get here. I might say within 20 minutes or 30 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm fine with, if someone wants to make a,
Mr. Chairman, I move we remove in its entirety 2.7.
I'll second.
any discussion? Are you fine with that, Council? Okay, so we have a motion to strike item 2.7. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. There being none, so moved. Now we got to go back and have a motion on the contract
As amended.
as amended
I move that we accept the contract as amended.
and move it to full city council.
Yes, sir.
I'll second.
Oh, let's try.
We can try.
No, no, you're not gonna let me try that?
In fact, you're out of order. It's Councilor Ora.
Oh, excuse me, Councilor. I apologize. I stepped on your toes. Go right ahead.
I'll go with his.
Okay.
I seconded it.
Okay. So we have a motion to approve the amended agreement for professional services, city clerk, in a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. There being none. So motion passes.
Mr. Chair. Mr.
Yes, ma'am.
You didn't recognize me, I'm sorry.
Oh.
Because you are.
I didn't see you. Sorry.
I know. And I realize you've already passed this, but I'd like to just bring this to your attention under number 5, performance evaluation. First of all, I have problems with it in its entirety because council does not deal with personnel issues. And that's tried and true. But and this is implying certainly that they do. But the concern I have is in 5.1, it talks about that the governing body shall meet in a public meeting with the clerk. And then in 5.3, it says the evaluation of the clerk shall be at all times conducted in closed sessions. So there's a difference there. I mean, it has to be one or the other.
Well,
I don't think the council should have dealings with evaluating personnel.
this is taken strictly from the manager's contract, and
That's different.
that was what the manager was. So
I just.
Taking it
I
back.
can speak to that. You would have to have an open meeting to then meet in a closed session.
That's true.
That's why it's worded that way. You open the meeting to the public, then you close it, then you reopen it. So this is entirely consistent legally.
Well, again, if you were to take some of this out of context, which people do when they try to make their own points, you could look at this and have two different things. The other, I just, and like I say, I'm really thinking, I wish you would think more seriously about the city council evaluating employees. That's just not typically done, and it's not something that council does. It definitely does not enter into personnel matters. That's why you have a city manager. That's why you have personnel policies. That's why there's a lot of this other in place. I just am really concerned about that. And then if I could just very quickly, the other thing that I think would at least give me a lot of heartburn is the compensation Under item 7, severance. Under A, if this person were to leave after 12 months, they get 3 months annual salary compensate or severance. If they're there 24 months, twice that, they only get 2 months. And if they're there 36 months, 3 years of service, they only get 1 month of severance. That seems really backwards to me. It seems to me
You know what
the
second?
less time they're there, the less compensation or severance we're calling it, there should be. So I'm really concerned about that.
Can you tell me which section you're referring to?
7,
7.1. So yeah, I can speak to this. This again is word for word the manager's contract. The idea here is that the clerk is moving out of the merit system and into the non-merit. So she's getting more of a guarantee, the longer how you could say that the harm done by being at will decreases over time, which is why for the first year, if the council were to terminate her, she'd get more compensation than if the council were to terminate years later.
well, that doesn't make sense to me, Mr. Chair. And the only other thing I'll say is I don't understand these contracts and the ambiguities in them because the city has done without contracts for 100 years or so without any problem. I don't quite understand why we're doing them now. Thank you.
Thank you. And we'll move this to full council, and you can express, if you wish to come to full council and express your concerns at full council meeting. So, now we'll move on to item number 8. Resolution, the annual professional services agreement with Main Street Roswell. Mr. Neighbors, I believe that is yours, is it not?
Thank you very much. Mr. Chairman and committee members, I am thrilled to bring this to you after several weeks of negotiations with the Main Street Roswell Group. We are bringing this forward to you. Again, it's presented in support of a continuing relationship with the city between the city of Roswell and Main Street Roswell. Okay, the resolution does authorize the city manager to go ahead and enter into an agreement. I do not believe that this agreement needs to go to finance committee, even though there is money attached to it. It's already been funded. So we'll go directly from here to the city council to get approval in December. The only action we're asking is to consider and then recommend to the city council the proposed adoption of resolution 22-XX to enter into our agreement. One of the things I'm very, very pleased to announce to all of you is that if you were around last year, you understand that it took 9 months to hammer out an agreement. We didn't hammer out the fiscal year 2022 agreement until March of this year. It's 9 months late. We took that, we got the MOU through, and then with some diligent work on the part of, especially Barbara. She's been just absolutely terrific to work with. And Jeremy also has been very good to work with. They're all here, hopefully in support of what we're doing. And but it only took us a couple of months to put this one together. Immediately after the first of the year, we're going to start looking at the 2024 agreement. We expect to have that in place well before the fiscal year. Bring it back to you so the full funding can continue, and we'll be back on track with everything else. Was there any questions? I'm sure these folks might have a thing.
So this, just, excuse me, Councilman. This is a July 1 to June 30 agreement?
Correct.
Correct?
Yes.
So at least we sped the process up this year.
I'm sorry?
We sped the process up this year.
Oh, dramatically.
Yeah.
Dramatically.
So.
And we will be, my goal, along with Barbara, a lot of help from Barbara and the rest of the board, is to have us back on track. When we come back before the city council in June to do the annual report, we'll present the fiscal year 24 agreement at that point in time. It will all go into place then in July 1 of 24. We'll be back on track. Everything will be back to where it's supposed to be.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Labor. Councilor Corn, you had a question?
Well, I finally found it in my packet, Mr. Chairman. So what is the contract amount again?
Annual funding is set at $60,000, which is exactly the same as it was the previous year.
It's 40,000 and they had a $20,000 increase, if I'm correct, upon them hiring an executive director.
That's exactly correct, sir.
Where is that? And so we've got an executive director now.
That's under the, that's not in this agreement.
Yeah, no, we took that provision out that it would be, we just left it $60,000 flat in this because they have a new executive director.
Right.
There was the 20,000 last year was more of an incentive.
Correct.
Folks, let's get it together. Let's get ourselves a professional to run this organization. Barbara has been hired. She's been on since August. And you just finished your 90-day review. And she passed evidently with flying colors, from what I understand.
She's still employed.
So it looks like we've got an executive director, so I don't believe the need for that separation was there.
Okay.
And remind me which line item this came out of in the budget?
It's in there.
I know, but where is
I
it?
don't remember what line item it is in the budget, but I know it's in there because
It is in there, and I know it is part of community, it's part of the community development planning and zoning budget for professional services.
There you go. That's what I was wanting to know. Okay, we're good. And we.
Councilman Preston,
Yes, sir.
do you have any questions, sir?
No, sir.
Okay, Councilman Arnold?
Whose turn is it to make the motion?
Wait a minute. I have a question.
No, you can't have any.
I have a question to Main Street Roswell about this agreement, because I've asked that to others that we fund like this, that are they completely satisfied with this agreement? If there are any conditions that you feel uncomfortable with? Because this is an agreement that can have two additional extensions, 2 one-year extensions. So,
Yes, we understand that, and we feel comfortable with what we have right now. The areas that we have concerns with, we've spent time with Jeremy, who by the way is also a lawyer, and part of our board, and with Kevin Neighbors to try to explain to us sections that we have issues with. So come next year, there may be some different, some changes that we want to do next year, but for now, we're okay with everything that we have. And I don't know whose place it is to ask this. I don't know if it's you guys, but is it possible? And I request that you go on a consent agenda for the city council.
I don't see why I can't. Yeah, you want? I have no problem with that.
We asked for legal opinion.
Yeah. Can this go on a consent agenda item?
What is this? I'm just sorry, I'm just coming in.
Yes, this could go on to the consent agenda.
It can go on consent, so,
All right, it's not my turn.
yeah, it is. I don't care. One of you.
I'm getting ganged up on.
Right.
Councilor Artificer, please.
Right. Mr. Chair, I move that we send to city council a recommendation to approve and adopt proposed resolution 22XX to enter into a professional services agreement for fiscal year 23 by and between the city of Roswell and Main Street Roswell to collaborate in the community economic development and downtown revitalization programs for the amount of $60,000, which has previously been budgeted.
Second.
And going on consent agenda.
Thank you. Is that second for consent agenda?
Yeah.
Yes.
If I knew he's gonna be that long-winded, I would have made the motion.
So we have a motion and a second to place this item, the annual professional service agreement with Main Street Roswell on the consent agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. There being none. Motion so passes. Now we have item. Thank you. We appreciate what you do for this community and look forward to bigger and better things.
Thank you.
Let's keep the flowers beautiful downtown. They look great. And the lights look great too. Thank you for that. I mean, that's awesome. So the next item is item number 1, which are the lease agreements.
Yep,
Jenna, guess what? You're back again.
I'm back again.
I'm working it.
We'll start with considering recommending the approval to authorize Carl Day to enter into a lease for T hangar 120 Space 5 at the Roswell Air Center. This is a general aviation hangar that the gentleman has been in, wants to continue on. All of the leases that are being presented today were vetted to the Airport Advisory Commission and have come forward from there. So the only difference in this will be a slight increase in rent for Mr. Day, coming from $241 per square foot up to $250 per square foot, which is consistent with the other T hangars, with an annual rent rate of $2,505 payable in 12 monthly installments of $208.75.
Mr. Mayor. There being any questions?
You ready for a motion? Okay. Mr. Chairman, I move that we list all the items now on number 3, A, Carl Day, B, Tom Wadsworth, C, Carlton Walker, D, Round Mountain Arsenal, E, Jen Air New Mexico, and F, New Mexico National Guard be sent to the city council for their approval on the consent agenda.
I have a question. E.
On E.
Yeah.
On E, okay?
Yeah. So do we just move, if you want to move all?
Okay.
I have a couple of amendments as well.
You have what?
Oh, Rooney,
Some amendments.
she just dashed your
Let's
vote.
take number 1 and let's go. So make your motion.
Which one do you want to amend?
Jen Ayers will need an amendment on it.
Okay, so then I'll rephrase my motion. Is F okay? Eh,
The only one that I had amendment for was E.
well, then I'm going to do it this way. Mr. Chairman, I move that we move the items contained in now number 3, A, Carl Day, B, Tom Wadsworth, C, Carlton Walker, as T hangar spaces, and also D, which is the Red Mountain Arsenal, to the city council for their approval on the consent agenda.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to put on the consent agenda the Carl Day lease, the Tom Wadsworth lease, the Carlton Walker lease, and the Red Mountain Arsenal lease.
That's a both of our T hangar.
Yeah, but it's a lease. So any other further discussion? Any other questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same. There being no opposition, motion so passes. Now you get to go to general airframe support.
Okay, so I spoke to General Airframe Support today. He had one item that he would like to have removed from the lease, which is special provisions, item number 31. We had removed from this lease the land parcel. This is the fenced area. He wants to give the fence back to us and not have to deal with maintaining the fence next to his building. He's not paying for rent on the land parcel, so I don't see a problem with that request. But that is one of the amendments to make on the lease. The second amendment on it is per the rent. And this is me. I made a mistake in my calculations when I took it to the Airport Advisory Commission. So the rent is a little less than what they had agreed to negotiating with. So Mr. Sheets and myself spoke about that before the land parcel was involved with the negotiation of the full parcel rent. And when I removed it, I had a miscalculation. So the change to the rent will be the tenant agrees to pay the landlord as rent the sum of $9,760.44 versus the $10,301.88. It will be payable in 12 monthly installments of $813.37, making a difference of the per square footage price from $3.83 down to $3.41 per square foot.
341.
Yes. And they were previously paying $3.23 per square.
Nice increase. Let me ask you a question. You say increased by the current CPI of 5.57.
Yes. So these are yearly leases. I took last year's CPI index points and I utilized the current CPI index point, and the difference is 5.57.
And that's why it went from 220 to 341.
It went from, 323 to 341.
Okay. So, but this lease calls for 3% or CPI inflators on an annual basis.
It's a yearly lease, so every
It's
year.
1 year?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Answer my questions. Council Volupese, do you have any questions?
No, sir.
Any more questions?
I already made the motion. You put
Well,
me
she
down.
amended it, so now.
Well, I'm gonna talk to her about that one.
So if I can have a motion for this amended,
It's actually Council Laura Pace's turn.
no, we just did the last one.
It's fine.
Better make it work.
Okay, so Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion on RAC lease agreement Gen Air NM LLC. I would like to consider recommending approval to authorize Gen Air to enter into lease for building 732 with the following amendments. The monthly rent, I believe, is $813.37. Amending it with an annual rent of, I believe it was $9,760. Was that even?
Yes.
Which actually is $3.41 square foot, the 5.57% CPI, to the consent agenda.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to amend the general airframe support lease. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. There being none, so moved. Next item on the agenda is the economic benefit analysis of the municipal infrastructure reimbursement program. And at this point in time, Mr. Mavers is going to present, but I will have.
What happened to the National Guard?
Yeah.
Oh,
we
we
didn't
got
do
that
that.
forgot.
No, I think you had.
I know you're in a hurry.
Question.
Fine. The next item on the agenda is the,
I did till I got scolded.
National.
is the
$1 rent.
New Mexico Youth Court Challenge Building 607.
So this is a consideration of recommending approval to authorize New Mexico Youth Challenge to add building 607 located at the Roswell Air Center to an existing lease dated May 17, 2011. And in accordance to the 3 addendums, also requesting to extend the end of the lease term to April 30, 2036. It originally is going to expire 2026. So they'd like an additional 10 years with the investment that they're putting into the building. They will be renovating the entire interior of building 607. And if you'll go to the picture slide, I'd appreciate that so they can see what building I'm talking about and the amount of work that they'll be putting into that.
Council Volupese.
A question, our abstract and information says 608.
It should be 607. It should be 607. They already have 608.
You satisfy your question?
Sure.
So
Councilor
Mr.
Arnold?
Chair. Okay, just help me a little bit on this. That is a rather low rent. So it's $5 per year for each building?
Yes.
Okay, and I guess we have an agreement on that?
We do, they've got a considerable amount of work that they put into those buildings. So far, they've completely renovated the interior of 610. They've redone the heating and air conditioning. And then same with 608. They've done the same there.
Okay, and I recognize that it's not necessarily near the airport, but is there any issues with the FAA requirements or anything like that?
No.
No, okay, that's all I needed to know. Thank you.
Outside the fence.
That's what I was
It's a Mexico Youth Challenge, and they've got a tremendous program out there.
They do,
some
yes.
great things.
Mayor.
They,
They're gonna, that whole building, they'll redo the whole building.
Yes, sir.
How much will that, how many more students will that add?
And their hope is to have 150 cadets at a time.
Nice.
So they have how many now?
There are 50.
Nice.
They can have 100 in the facility that they have. They'll be taking this building and adding dormitory, but also multi-purpose rooms. And the full first floor will be classroom, tutorial rooms, and or they're in processing. So they'll be able to make modulars out of that room to make it fit for several things that they do.
I like that.
They'll be able to have 200 kids in?
150.
150?
yeah. Oh, they do some great things for this
Yep.
community. They give back to this community a lot in the service that those young people that are going through that program, and they have a great success rate with those young people through that program as well. So, you know,
They showed up 2 a week.
oh,
They did.
all you got to do is ask and they'll be there. They come out. And so we are thankful for them choosing Roswell's location for this facility. So I have a motion.
My turn.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, I move that we recommend approval to full council to authorize New Mexico National Guard to amend the current lease dated May 11, 2011 to include building 607 plus land track and change the terms ending date to April the 30th, 2036. And the approval will be effective December the 8th, 2022. And I'm assuming that the information here is the same for building 607
Yes.
instead of 608?
Yes.
Because this one says building 607 consisting of 25,100.
It's 608. It's not 607. Building 608.
It is 608?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll second.
Are you satisfied with that?
Sure.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
To put it on consent agenda.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All those opposed, same. There being no opposition, that item moves to consent agenda.
Mr. Chair, I do have a question for you. Since we've changed our process a little bit and I'm vetting the advisory commission, at this point, I'm vetting these to the advisory commission before I speak to the tenant. So that is why I come with amendment 6 months. I don't know if that process is which acceptable. So you can avoid me getting a matching later from the council.
Are you comfortable with that? That's the input. And now you're vetting these things with assistance from the Airport Commission has no jurisdiction.
They make the recommendation that what I'm proposing to the tenants is fair and that they look through them. So yes, I'm comfortable with that. It worked well. It's going to take us a little bit to get into the added layer, if you will.
Right.
So last week was a little bit of a rush just because this wanted being an early council or a committee meeting as well. So.
Do you find that to be beneficial and helpful to you when you're going through these leases that you've got, that Airport Commission is vetting these and supporting you? That's what they're supposed to be doing, is supporting you.
Yeah, I think that I have a really good working relationship with Mr. Kunkel. He's been beneficial with helping me to understand what it is that the recommendations are, and then also for me to be able to give some education about where my directions come from past. And if there's policies that need to be looked at, then they can start looking at those policies to make recommendations.
Well, I want to just make sure that you're comfortable and you're feeling the direction that you want to have.
Yes.
Yes, and sorry to interrupt, Mr. Chair. We're going to work with the commission to move their date so it's not on top of yours in that way.
Yeah. It just happened this month because we moved our committee meeting up because of Thanksgiving. So it was like really fast, but we got it. And so it just took me, it was a little complicated to get all of the actual, yes, we're okay with these terms from everybody, but I pulled it off.
Good. Thank you for your hard work out there. Truly appreciate it. So next item on the agenda is item number, we're on item number
four,
which is the economic benefit analysis of municipal infrastructure reimbursements. And before we go any further than that, I would hope that there are no comments from anyone here that are out of line to the chair like there was last time, because that will not be accepted. Just letting the participants know. And the chair will not participate in this because of potential conflict that I may have on this project, on this item. So I'm going to turn it over to Councilor Arnold.
Co-chair and committee members. I'm going to go ahead and turn this portion of the meeting over to Jim Mitchell. Jim and Dan Detola graciously went out and had an economic analysis done. What you have being passed around right now is the narrative of that. So we made enough copies, I believe, that everyone can have them or they can follow along. But Mr. Mitchell will take over this portion of the program.
I ain't drone on here forever, but the MERP, the reason that we had Baylor do this study for us. And we just wanted to get everybody on the same table. I mean, I've heard all kinds of different takes on them, what it does for developers, what it doesn't do for the city and so on and so forth. So I went to a third party group to get this done. That's what this study is about. The overview of the MERP is developer comes to town, has a builder build a house, the developer gets or the builder gets a CO, then the city then reimburses the developer a portion of the infrastructure cost. Plain and simple. And in my particular instance, it's about $10,000 per lot. I think residential apartments is $5,000 a door or something. So that's in a nutshell, that's what the MERP does. Now, how it gets back to the city, why it's needed. We have to get Roswell. I'm a big proponent to Roswell, New Mexico. I have told everybody that. I have multiple businesses here. And we want to see Roswell grow. We don't have any ill will toward the city. This is a good thing for the city. It's a good thing for the community. And what it does is it puts us on a full playing field with the city of Carlsbad and the city of Hobbs. City of Hobbs has this. This was duplicated out of their books and brought to here. And it worked so well in the city of Hobbs. It is why we felt it necessary to get this passed. The city of Carlsbad has one. They do it a multitude of ways. Long story short, we're talking to builders. We're trying to bring builders to Roswell to get houses built. And so why should we build in Roswell? We get better comps in Carlsbad, and we get 6 to 10% of the gross cost of the construction, gross sales of the construction. So in Hobbs, they do $10,000. So they just tell us point blank, we'll go build them Hobbs. We'll sell them every day. We get $10,000. Project goals. My goal, go out there, build a nice looking project, get the housing in Roswell up to the standard it should be, get some reasonable cost houses. I don't like the word affordable. I don't think a $300,000 home in Roswell is an affordable house. But this does allow for an affordable component. There's going to be some people in Roswell that upgrade, go out there and buy a house. And then there's the potential that their house will become the affordable component to this. That's what happened at Hobbs. The economic impact was we pretty much. Oh, sorry. Okay, so like I said, affordable housing, I kind of touched base on that. The affordable housing component to this is if somebody upgrades and we go out there. Now, we are gonna build, we're gonna try to build, pretty tough to build a $250,000 house today. But we're gonna try to build a $250,000 house to 350 would be that range. Right now, while in September, there was only 45 homes on the market in that range. And most of them needed a $200,000 upgrade. So the comparable housing is just not there. The economic impact of it is, and this was a difficult issue with Baylor. We talked about this extensively. So when you go into a project the size of this, and this will bring other builders to town. That's what happened in Hobbs. Started out with one developer. There's 12 over there building houses now. You end up having to outsource some contractors and some stuff to come in. Roswell just doesn't have enough contractors and stuff to build a project this size. We certainly plan on utilizing local contractors, but we're going to have to outsource much of this stuff. Well, Baylor couldn't do the economics on the gross receipts that they would spend during the construction, hotels, meals, tools, everything else. And also, they didn't feel comfortable. It's all factual based. They didn't speculate on anything. So they couldn't speculate on what a family of 4 or family of 6 that would buy that house would spend on day-to-day living in Roswell on the GRT that would generate. So this study doesn't include anything other than the GRT that is generated at the time of the sale of the home and the annual property taxes. That's all that's all we have in here. So it's probably half of the money that this is going to generate. And then to incentivize the developer, this program incentivizes a poor word. This program reimburses the developer for a portion of the infrastructure costs to develop one of these lots. Right now, on that project we're building out there, those lots are costing $39,000 a piece to develop. So we're handing over $39,000 worth of infrastructure for a $10,000 bill. We put a cent in here because the cent's looking to bring 360 jobs over a period of time. It's supposed to generate $545 million for the local economy. And 100 jobs in short order, which I don't know where you house 100 families today. Because it's my understanding most of those people are going to come from out of town. Ascent is during this study, Baylor talked to Ascent. Ascent tells them they believe they're going to need 360 homes with what they're going to generate and what their support companies are going to need to make it happen. Available homes in September were 45.
Yeah.
Offset the developer's risk. So $10,000 does offset the developer's risk a little bit, but that's not how this works. We are incentivizing builders to come to Roswell. So we're building this all out of pocket. We go out there, we build it, we get the builder in here. They build the house, they get a CO. At that point, they get a check. We get a check for $10,000. The developer gets a check. We turn that over to the builder. That's how we're incentivizing builders to come to Roswell. It's the only way we can get it. So improve the population. This slide kind of gets off base a little bit, but there's only 2 ways that we all drive around town. We see our infrastructure, see our streets and the water lines are broken and everything else that's going on. You either have to increase the tax base or the how much we charge, what the tax rate is. That's the only two ways city can generate more money. And the tax base is certainly better than the rate. So, right, if all 900 homes were built, and I bring, this was based on my subdivision, 900 lots, 100 homes a year, because I can't base it off anybody else. I know what my intent is, so I don't know what anyone else's intents are. But if all 900 homes were built, the property tax would be $1,435,000 a year based on today's rate. The infrastructure, so Baylor went out, talked to Bohannon Houston, largest civil engineer in the state, asked them what the life expectancy of infrastructure is. They said, well, you start repairing things at the 24-year mark. You don't overhaul the entire system, but may need to pave a road or do some things. So that's why that 24 number's on there. And we'll get back to that as we do a couple more slides. Here we go. So year one, this is based on per home. So year one, we get $10,000. This is based on a $300,000 home. So the GRT that's paid at the time of sale on a $300,000 home is $8,125. At that point, it takes 376 days of property tax to get the $10,000 back. And then so year one, you're negative $280. And then at the end of year two, it just starts growing. So it's not like we're asking the city to give us $10,000. We're asking the city to reimburse us the tax that we pay it for the first, the gross receipts tax on the original construction and 376 days of property tax. So this is, Hobbs did this. So Baylor, they interviewed Sam Cobb, the mayor of, and he's a big proponent of this. Hobbs on the last census grew 13, I think it's 13.25%. And the city of Roswell decreased by 0.25%. And it's due to their housing and due to Hobbs having the MERP is what caused that. The last one. Okay, so like I said, we need to get Roswell on an equal playing field with their neighbors because they're doing it, they're making money off of it. And at the 24-year baseline, there is, there'll be so if we build 100 homes a year in our subdivision, that's $1 million a year from the city for 9 years. At the 24-year mark where the infrastructure may need some rehab, there's $27,410 if you never touched it. It would be sitting out there for infrastructure. And that's been one of the key things that I've brought up since we've been talking about this is the infrastructure in Roswell is dilapidating at a rate that I don't believe the city is generating income to repair because the city of Roswell was originally built to accommodate 250,000 residents. We work in municipalities all over the state. There's not a municipality this size anywhere in the state of New Mexico that has the infrastructure, water line wise, sewer line wise. So by adding another 2,000 or 3,000 homes, it doesn't change anything. The city's already doing the work. They've already got the infrastructure. It's just dilapidating. There's a day there's a day of reckoning coming on this deal if we don't figure out how to generate some money to offset some of this infrastructure.
Sorry to hear. Sorry to hear.
I'm 10 years behind the curve on this deal. But I'm doing my part. So, and the other aspect of this is I've had a couple of people come up to me and say, well, why would the city reimburse you for the infrastructure? And my answer is if we don't get this $10,000 infrastructure rebate, I can't give it to that builder. And if that builder doesn't build a house, if you get 100% of zero, it's still zero. And I can't do the math any simpler than that. And that's what's going to happen. That's what's been happening. I built that subdivision over at the corner of Country Club in Atkinson in 2008. I sold the last lot there in 2018. And that was because we didn't have a way to incent. Our neighbors do it. You can't compete with the neighbors if you're not playing the game. Any questions? Yes, sir.
So the 375,000 figure you used, I believe, for property tax, is that right? Is that I have the right number in my mind?
No, sir. So on the property tax, and you got to go back and add it all up because it gets broke out. The schools get some and it gets it goes everywhere. But if you add it all back up on a $300,000 house, annual property tax is around $1,595.
The city gets.
Correct. And then on the initial sale of the home, there's about $8,125 of GRT tax that comes back to the city. So the way this program works is we'd get the $10,000. You guys would get your $8,125 back at whenever you get your tax money back from the state. That's a whole different animal. And then
60 days in arrears at a minimum.
And then it would take 376 days to make you whole. And then you're going to get all the GRT this creates that every family that buys a house up there can spend in this. And Roswell, when we was talking to Sam Cobb, Sam said, the biggest thing I have going against me in Hobbs is Lubbock's 80 miles from here. I can go grocery shopping, love it. So if I was in Roswell, I'd have this thing by the tail because they're 200 miles. People that live here spend money here. And when Hobbs did this, it created a commercial industry, strip malls, and because people moved to Hobbs. And once somebody buys a house, they stay here. Economy's good or bad, they stay here. They own that house. To where back in the past, that oil field would crash, everybody would leave Hobbs. Hobbs would build a sustainable community based on this program.
Well, I've had quite a few conversations with Mayor Cobb because I fly him and I've got some ideas. He's told me what that they did, in his opinion, could have been done differently. So I'm going to be thinking about that with a pencil to this because my numbers and your numbers don't add up because the city's part of the property tax is about this much. And that gross receipts number is a gross figure. And the state keeps a bunch of that and the county gets some of that. And there's lots of other things that
our gross receipt tax based on what the city gets through.
Well, it's not, I know what you're saying. So you're saying the city gets 2.5 or something %. You actually get that. But the schools get a portion, transit gets a portion, everybody gets a portion. So we put that all back in one bucket because I can't control that. If I could give you that check, I would.
I'm not trying to fight with you.
But no, I'm not either.
I just know that whenever you look at that, because people get the property tax business. I got mine sitting on my desk at the house for both quarters. And people don't look at their property tax. They don't know that so much of it goes to the Roswell Independent School. Some of it goes out to Eastern. Some of it goes to the GO bonds that we just passed again. And you have to start adding all those increments up or subtract them out, depending on which way you got to look at it. And then you look at the little bitty bit that the city of Roswell gives, and we don't get enough of that to worry about, basically.
Right.
Now, I'll fight you to the death for my gross receipts because I got a bigger hunk of that coming back. And the state keeps some of that. The county gets some of that. There's offshoots. Your offshoot on your gross receipts tax income stream is very similar to the offshoots that go out on your property tax. It gets scattered around.
And I understand what you're saying. I guess my point is if I could get the return on investment that the city's going to get from this, I invest every penny I have. I would be in construction today. I would put every dime I have in this because there's nothing I do that I get 100% return on investment 376 days. No. No. So, and I understand what you're saying, Bob. I get that. But the initial 8125 is the big nut on this deal. That's the GRT right off the bat. We don't build houses. That money's never generated a start.
I'm just trying to make this thing, figure this out and how to make it work.
I understand.
Because I got to tell you, I don't know where I'm going to get the money to get this ball rolling. I don't have it. The city of Roswell, in my estimation, and the other member of the finance committee who's just here, got another one sitting right there. I don't know where I'm going to get the money to get the ball rolling. I've got some ideas, but I can't say, here's your check for your first $10,000.
Me and Bill can loan it to you at 10% interest. If that helps.
I understand. I'll find it. We'll figure this out, but right now, I don't know where the money is.
Well, and if I didn't believe in the program, because I'm not here to heist Roswell out of a dime. I own the concrete plant, on the construction deal, on the quarry. We're here to make Roswell, I need to make it work. I'm pregnant in business here. Roswell needs to be something.
I get it. We just gonna have to figure out how to make this solid.
And we're losing population as we speak, so.
Oh, I'm not sure. She's the chair.
I'm looking at the Madam Chair.
Sorry, I was actually thinking of how to make it work.
Just a question. What kind of impact do you believe it would have on the east side of town, where most of the buildings have been torn down already?
On the east side of town? You know, I don't know the answer to that because I haven't studied that long enough, just flat out. I do think there's some infill infrastructure that needs to be done. And this works in all areas of town. And those infill lots are great. You know, that's.
Because if you go down on the east side, I mean, you see a lot of empty lots where the buildings have been thrown down and for all intended purposes, I would think we have a lien against those properties, not that we own them, but.
And you know, when at the end of the day, if the developer's a builder or however it works, $10,000 gets people to town to clean that stuff up and build houses or build multifamily housing. And that's another affordable aspect of this. Is this really incentivizes multifamily housing, and there's certainly a need for it. Right there in Artesia, I'm building a subdivision for a guy in Artesia right now. They're building apartments right down the street. We have people that were driving here to live that stand in Artesia now because they have nicer residential space than they can get in Roswell. And we're losing money every day, day in and day out. And 285 is busy, but you can sit out there in my shop and watch the increase every day. And it's just somehow, and I'm on board to work with the city in any fashion I can to make this deal work. But somehow somebody's got to kick the ball and get it rolling, or it's not going to happen.
Jeff's got to have a ball to kick to get it rolling.
Councilman Foster?
Madam Chair, I just wanted to, one of the things that, this we're renewing this, correct? This is the.
Yeah, it's already.
We're already in. And so last year when we brought it in, one of the things I fought for was keeping the sidewalks as one of the reimbursements. And that helps with the infill. Because a lot of times when they have a vacant lot, they don't have the sidewalks. So they come in, they build the house, we make them put a sidewalk. Well, we can reimburse them for the sidewalk. They can't get reimbursed for the sewer that's already been placed there. They can't get reimbursed for the curb or the street because it's already been placed there. They're not doing that. The only thing that we can reimburse them for is that sidewalk. And so it gives them some incentive for that. And that's one of the things. This is something we renew every year. Ms. Mitchell, you said you hopefully to get 100 homes built, correct?
And we were talking about that in this current economy with interest being what it is, we're realistically going to do 75.
So 70.
They've already decreased that number.
So now what we're looking at is 75 times 10,000. We're not going to, and that's 75 customers that are going to be buying our water, using our sewer and our sanitation. So we're going to have other means of income. Of course, those are going to other funds, and they're going to be helping the city in that way too. And so it's not something that we suddenly have 900 homes that we have to deal $10,000 per for, but.
And you're absolutely right. And the infrastructure generates this, the water and sewer generates revenue for the city, and I forgot to mention that.
And if we get 75 homes, let's say, let's hope that the economy will allow us to do that. Roswell has an edge because they have such a shortage that we're kind of the only game in town right now if we start building houses. But you take 75 families that we sell homes to. Now just think each and every one of you, how much money you spend with your family in your home. And that reflects gross receipt tax.
Yeah, that's right.
And it also helps, like you said, on the west, once you create, and if you look at Hobbs, because I'm very familiar with that, if you look at the way Hobbs went, once it started, like a ball, it just keeps rolling. And some guy comes in and says, boy, I can see an opportunity here on the east side. Then he'll go to the east side. It'll just keep feeding on itself. But you got to start it.
Right.
And that's where it's a yearly process. And I mean, how much money have we spent on this last year? None. Okay. Well, no, we put it in place. We haven't. And so at the end of, in 12 months, if we get 75 homes and 75 times $10,000, $750,000, and we see that it's working, we renew it. When we see that it's not working, we don't renew it. But that was $750,000 that I hate to say gamble, but.
Well, you don't gamble.
I think that it is actually, it's an investment that I think you'll be able to see returns on. If we don't see the returns on it, it's something that we have to renew every year.
So so if we build 75 homes, $750,000, the initial GRT from the construction will generate $609,375.
And that's still not talking about the diesel tax, the gas tax, and all water.
That's
I was
just
number one and I missed it.
when we say gamble, when you say gamble,
But I'm good.
we're not talking red and black.
Yeah. This, and when I initially saw this, there are things that red flags that come up and I'm thinking, wait, but it's still one of those things. We've been sitting for how long with slow growth to no growth. I think our census, we did gain 400 people, but that's still way too slow compared to 13 points. Hobbs was one of the only growing towns in New Mexico. But I do see that it's, for me, it's a no-brainer just because it's a renewable. I mean, every year we come back to it and see, is it working? If it's working, okay, we're going to continue. So and I do think we can come up with $750,000.
Well,
It's on finance. I do see that there are places that we can.
and the system works, because we can drive right over Hobbs and look at it if it works. I brought it in from some foreign country and said, hey, I mean, it's right there in Hobbs. It's working every day.
We're not reinventing the wheel.
Okay.
This is been.
Okay.
Do you want to? If you don't mind, thank you, Madam Vice Chair. Folks, I want to say, first of all, I'm a real proponent of this. I think it's really a great idea. And I know I made Kevin and these gentlemen crazy when I wordsmithed like I did for several months, but I really wanted to make sure this was right. So Kevin, I think this is to you. I have a few questions on what's printed here. And I'm sorry, no one has page numbers, do you?
No.
On the abstract for this item, I have no idea where it is toward the end. My concern is in the third paragraph on the background. It says the program budget is not established for FY22. It was. FY22 ended June 30th of 22. So that word "not" should really come out of there. And then when you go to the resolution itself, which is the next page, it's very similar to what we passed before, other than in the third whereas, where it says the city council further recognizes the negative impacts that inadequate supply of market rate rental and single family houses. The program itself specifically says owner occupied, no rental. And the reason we did that was we didn't want landlords making money off of this. The intent is for people to buy homes at a reduced rate.
Never are.
Right.
Never are intended to do.
Right. But we're not all in control if we don't keep it in writing. But this specifically is not for landlords to make money on. Yeah, I think that.
No, we're not.
And in the third whereas needs to come out of there.
Does that work? How would that component work in a multi-family setting?
I don't agree. I don't know if I agree or disagree with it.
I thought, well, you know, I do have a concern kind of off the record as to how you keep this. I mean, how do you keep someone from eventually selling a home to someone who's going to be a landlord?
But at the end of the day, I think no matter how it sells, it generates the city back the money.
Sure.
Therefore.
But I think it's important to note, like I say, that it's not intended for these to be rentals and have someone make money off of. It's intended to be a reduction in the cost of the home for working families.
And in Hobbs, I was there for every one of them, almost 700 of them. That very, I don't know if it ever happened. I'm sure, like you say, somebody snuck in and got it.
Well, as the years go on,
Yeah.
but like you say, I mean, there's so many variables that maybe that's not important, but the original selling of the home is not to be intended to rent it. Again, in the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th whereas, I don't know that the resolution originally said, the last phrase of this says, which is must provide a yearly program budget. The original did not say that. So just that. And then I guess my question is, we're in fiscal year 2023 right now, which means that if this is passed at council, there'll be 6.5 months in order to come to the certificate of occupancy of 75 homes. Is that possible?
We can't do that.
I wouldn't think so. So Councilor Korn, in regards to the 750,000, it may not be necessary. I mean, that number may not be attainable, so it may not end up being that much money from this year's budget.
I believe we have to put that in there because the development agreement specifies a dollar figure for a total number of units being built. 750,000 right now came from, we have 3 development agreements waiting to be reviewed and approved right now. A 20 unit, a 10 unit, and a 17 unit. So that's 47 units right there. And we have another 20 unit agreement, so that's 67. And that's just single family. And at the city council meeting just a few days ago, we approved another 8 unit multifamily project along with, prior to that, it didn't have to go to city council, but we've approved a 30 unit multifamily project as well. We wanted to leave a little bit of money in there for the multifamily as well.
But my question is, the budget, it runs out, I guess, or the fiscal year ends on June 30th of 2023. Is it realistic to think 75 new homes will be completed and have their certificate of occupancy in 6.5 months?
No.
I mean, I don't know. I'm just trying to help.
Not that development.
There may be.
With all the other things
No, I
that we're sitting
realize
on.
that. Well,
Yeah, I
I'm
think
just
it's
saying.
very doable based on the information that's on Mr. Neighbor's desk, that there's a distinct possible.
It's possible, but again, I'm looking, and finance would be,
Mr. Dennis is one of those guys.
I just know where.
The units in your application.
Well, I've got 10 units on mine. I doubt any of mine will be ready for CO.
Well, I understand, but we're just talking to 2 of you guys, and you've got others in the pipeline, so to speak.
Others in the queue, yeah.
And we're talking about not 6 months from now, but 8 months from now.
Probably a year from now.
Well, but I mean, to use her point, there's 8 months left in the fiscal year.
You're not going to be paying out any of mine for sure, or theirs. But in the 2023 budget, it'll come out of 24.
Well, I got it. And I've got lots of other strings on the budget that has nothing to do with this. If I could write you guys a check tonight, I'd do it, because I'm all in favor of this deal. But my responsibility is to the taxpayers of the state in the city of Roswell. And it's not just this program that I'm worried about. There's 10 million, 12 million other worth of projects out there that I'm also worried about. And then you're wanting another million. So now we're 13. And next week, somebody will say, oh, I got this great idea. Probably going to work, but I need $1 million. I mean, you know how this thing just keeps growing. And I'm not opposed. I'm not opposed to this program at all. I've got to get my mind around it and figure out how to get this thing done. And I've got some ideas. And part of those ideas came from my visits with the mayor from Hobbs. And I'm already working on it. And I can get, I don't have it all broke down yet, but I will. I'll get it there.
Yeah, Vice Chair, if I could just finish real quickly. Let me, because I know you guys really need to make comments on this too. Let me just say on what we originally approved, the plan that we originally approved in October of 21, according to the resolution, did expire March 31st of 22. And we were testing the waters then. So I'd encourage you to maybe change some of that language. Also, if you'll note on the second page of the actual program highlights, number 6A discusses the maximum reimbursement amount shall not exceed the limits established in Part 5 when calculated on a per square footage basis. And Councilor Opesa, in order to answer part of your question, is the original decision that we had made was it would be $10 per square foot for residential units constructed north of Second Street and 20,000 for residential units constructed south, to give more of an incentive to build on the south end of town and give more money. So again, it would reduce the cost of the houses. That's probably enough, Madam Chair. Like I say, I think this is a really good program and certainly worth 10,000 maximum per home that it would cost the city in the returns discussed so far. Thank you.
Okay, I would submit, I mean, this whole program came about because you needed more lots to build on in the city of Rockville. There was a housing shortage. That was the whole purpose of instituting this MERC bill to begin with. Now, I can't speak for these guys, but I can tell you right now, the program is definitely already working, because I wouldn't have done my development had it not been for this program getting it done. And I'm not sure it's David soil. There's 910 lots that wouldn't be built. They're being built right now because of this program. And so the question is whether it works. It's definitely worked for the purpose that it was intended to work.
Okay, so, Mr. Mayor, did you have something? I have something as soon as we're.
I just was wondering, how do you disperse who gets the lots? I mean, my only thing is because anybody who's a builder in town should be able to get in, should have access to this program. And if some people can come by, if you get 10 lots and you get 30 lots, well, there won't be any lots left for anybody else. I mean, I can't understand why a guy who's building a house couldn't get up, anybody who's building a house couldn't be a part of this program.
They can.
Well, that's the way it was designed.
Anyone can.
Anyone has access. I've talked to all of our local builders at one point or another that are out there building all the infill lots, especially in the east side of town right now. We've got a tremendous number of lots being developed and built in the northeast corner, projects that have sat idle for years. We've got a couple of projects on the northwest quadrant, and every single one of our local builders, I've let them know that this program is available to them. They have to put in their sidewalks still. Sometimes they have to put in sewer and water and other things. And yeah, this is designed for the individual user all the way up to the large master plan developers.
But how do you pick who's going to get them if you only have, I mean, how much we fund if we fund 50 lots? I mean, the city, I'm not sure that the city is in any financial situation to fund anything right now. And I mean, I look at it, I think we're bankrupt, but that's just me. So all I'm saying is it how do you figure who's going to get the lots? Is it a lottery? Are you going to have a lottery?
No, it's based on the applications. Every one of our developers, every one of our builders knows there's an application process. As of right now, we have 3 applications in and pending.
And this is their own lot. They purchased.
Yes. Purchase the lots. They're ready to go.
There is no selection on that side.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm just saying, I don't know if you have one guy goes in and buys 30 lots, does that mean that means that he's going to have all the lots and nobody else is going to have them? If it's all on one side of town or whatever?
The maximum number of lots you can do under any one development agreement is 20. Okay.
Yeah.
So, and if they don't
take the individual guy too,
if they don't perform within a year after getting their development agreement, and let's say they only built 10 out of the 20 that they were incoming, they have to come back and they have to request an extension. That extension can either be not approved or it can be reapproved. All the control tools have been left with the city council. It's all a function of the development agreement. That's why we review this thing annually based on its performance, based on the number of people participating, because we don't want to overburden. Number one, we don't want to overburden the budget for this. And number two, we have the opportunity to revise it, to update it, to make sure that the funding is getting into the hands of those that need it the most. Now, it's easy to look at these guys over here because, well, they got the biggest project in town right now. But every developer, whether they're building 1 or 2 or 3, or they're building 900, has the opportunity to walk them through the process. We've put all the forms and everything are together. All they have to, and we'll walk them through putting the forms together. Even the development agreement itself is a standardized form now. So, and I've talked to, like I said, I've talked to Alfredo Parra, I've talked to Freddie Nasrallah, I've talked to all of our local guys about the program. And as soon as it's funded, I'm sure they probably, these guys only make money if they're building. So I'm assuming they're going to want to take advantage of it as soon as the city council makes the decision to fund the program.
I don't know. I know where his lots are. I have no idea where Mr. Dennis's are. But I'm just sitting here looking, when we look about programs too, I think we have to look at some of the things also where we have a problem. I don't know how many people in Chihuahuita are going to have a plan to go over there and build 5 houses in Chihuahuita and have the money together and all that stuff to do it. To even go bid on or put an application in for the lots. That's what I'm saying. I think that somewhere along the line, there needs to be levels or something where you can look. So there's orderly development and somewhat some of the other areas. Well, we've been paying the contractors to, $20,000 to tear down houses in Chihuahuita for a couple, 3 or 4 years now. And so they get that, and yet you turn back around, the houses are going to be sitting there empty. The lots are going to be empty forever.
Well, I think actually, Mrs. Stubbs actually pointed out that anything south of Second Street, so please correct me if I misunderstood this, actually gets $20.
I understand it, but if they put in 30 lots and he puts in 20 and they put in,
I'm just saying the incentive is greater down south.
I understand that, but I'm just saying, if the guy goes in and puts his application in and he gets his 31st, then where are we?
You mean as if we run out of money?
Yeah, it's all.
So it's a first come, first serve. Is that kind of how it operates?
Right now, yes, that's the way it's.
Well, and I'm just saying, that's, how do you get somebody who's going to build? You look at the economic level, somebody over here putting in 800 lots and somebody in Chihuahuita going to put in 4 lots. The structure level and the economic wherewithal are 2 different levels of probably what the people would probably be that are building houses over there. That's maybe not, but I don't think that's far from the truth.
Madam Chair.
If I may, please, it's much quicker, much faster to build one house and get reimbursed than it is to build a larger number.
I understand that, but if you're going to build, if he has an application for 10, I'm sure he's going to want to get paid after he does 1, he's going to want to get paid for 1. And that's all I'm saying is that, something has to be somewhat equal for every area of town. Every ward needs to have something that's somewhat agreeable.
And Mr. Mayor, I think this definitely would. If you're looking at property in Chihuahuita that's already platted, it's a much smaller home per lot than it's going to be, say, in their development. So it's gonna happen more quickly.
Well, and I will also actually say that I think the fact that this is an annual, annually reviewed actually provides a great opportunity for looking for areas that might be weak, and we can correct them on an annual basis. I actually like that setup.
Would it be better to divide this? Okay, we got 100 lots, then 20 per ward.
We need to be very, very careful about picking winners and losers. Okay.
I'm just talking about the minute you development in our community.
Well, but
it's all divided equally according to population.
The minute you say that there's this fund of money available out there for development for Chihuahuita or for the southeast quadrant of town, the south, whatever the quadrant of town, immediately what's going to happen is the real estate agents are going to jack up the price of those available lots by the funding that's available. Okay? Seen things like this happen in a number of different places. We want this to be market driven, not necessarily property owner driven. So that's where we're coming up with, if the market continues to go in the direction we're going, one of the reasons we did allow for a greater revenue in the south end of town was because we assumed smaller, more affordable homes are going to be built there. That's why we were offering the the extra incentive on a per square foot basis, assuming that they may be getting 1 bedroom or efficiency units and other things down there, 1,000 square feet or less. Okay. In the rest of town, no, they're going to be getting the larger homes. You're going to be getting 1,500, 2,000, 2,500 square foot. So it's not a big issue. But we've tried to make this as equitable as possible by opening it up to everyone, and everyone that comes through the door in our offices is advised that the program is out there. And then as soon as it's funded, I've got people that are wanting to get their applications in. But I know, like I said, I know for a fact, I can think of 3 of our local builders off the top of my head that build, 1, 2, 3 units at a time. And they're going to want to be part of this at some point in the future. And they're building homes, like I said, in the, not just in the northwest quadrant of town, but in the northeast and in the southwest. I don't know of anyone building in the southeast end of town right now. But the other quadrants, the other 3 quadrants, we've got activity, a lot of good infill activity. And this is only going to spur that infill activity, which is what we want anyway.
But if you had so many per ward, it might stir development in all the wards equally.
One of the things, and because I represent the east side, is one of the things that, in my opinion, that we have to address is those empty lots that are out there. However, those empty lots, I don't think anybody's going to buy them for the price that the city paid for the destruction of the properties. You're talking about $20,000 that you pay a contractor to come in and demolish a home, and those lots are only worth maybe $2,000, maybe. And so, but I think in my opinion, what needs to happen is we need to come up with some kind of program or a solution that we can clear those lots to be able to offer them. So contractors can come in, because contractors are not going to come in and buy a $30,000 lot worth $2,000.
If I may interject, we've actually already started the movement on that as far as addressing the demolition process, like the second phase of rebuilding. Next month, Todd Versiglio will be on the illegal agenda for a discussion on possible redirection on how to address that issue. Juliana Halverson with the Public Safety Committee has actually agreed to get the demolition process on the for January. So you're spot on, and I'm in total agreement with you, but we do have movement going forward on how to fix it.
As a matter of fact, I sent an email to Josh and to Hess both earlier this week, addressing that specific issue. Because we've got 2 issues that need to be addressed. Number one, the cost of the Clean and Safe program as it is, including all the way up into demolition. But we also got issues with our landfill.
Right.
We're putting all that material into the landfill, which is filling it up quicker than we need to. And there are people out there, whether they're investors or real estate agents or home flippers, that will take some of these homes, even in the most dilapidated condition, and they'll take them. And as long as they're reasonably structurally sound, they'll put $100 a square foot into it and take $1,000, take a little place at 1,000 square foot home and turn it into a $150,000 little casita or just another type of little efficiency home, perfect for first-time home buyers, perfect for some of these infill lots and things. But we're already looking into that. A lot of it's going to come down to Josh and Hess explaining to us the time frame of everything we're moving toward. Because right now we're waiting in some cases years before we go back and enforce the lien and take the property, put it in. We need to be able to expedite that process without going all the way to the point of demolition, okay? And get control of it so that we can start putting some of these houses and these vacant lots back out on the market.
And that's specifically what I had, had a discussion with Hess on discussing at the public safety meeting with Juliana, because those are all that you're hitting on all the areas that we need to be looking at and addressing. Mr. Mitchell.
Yes, ma'am. I believe that kind of answered the mayor's question. So if a lot over there in the east side's 5,000 and I'm selling lots for 55,000, and you're looking at a $10,000 incentive or whatever it is to build a house, some builder's going to be motivated to go over there and build.
Right. They're gonna make money.
Just because that's the discrepancy right there, and that solves that issue.
Okay, so,
Madam Chair,
I'm sorry, yes.
just for the information, it's actually on Monday's agenda for public safety, not January. We got it on.
Oh, did you?
Days, yeah.
No.
So Monday,
No, well,
next month.
You don't want it on?
no, because I asked her for December or January because I'll be in Vancouver.
You just come back?
Postpone it.
You need to coordinate a little
I
better.
I did. So anyway, I have
Well,
an email.
I would say we need to kind of wrap this up because it's already.
Yeah, I was actually
6
fixing to
o'clock.
call for, I need a motion on this.
Well, we just got this infrastructure reimbursement program.
But I think that there's the part of that is actually, this is informational presentation, but there's a resolution. Are we actually consider and recommend adoption of proposed resolution?
Well, I know, but this, in my opinion, Madam Chair, you can't divide and conquer this deal. This is too big a deal. You need to get the whole package where you can see it, including the financial side. And I will say that it wasn't that long ago, we were in this same room with you gentlemen. And one of the things was that nobody put any kind of money in the 23 budget for us to consider. Wasn't there?
Well, one thing that concerns me is, and the mayor just made a statement earlier that maybe the city's bankrupt.
Well, he's entitled to his
I
opinion.
mean, is that a fact? Is that reasonable or?
Well, I think it's safe to say we have some challenges that we've got to figure out.
Are pretty big.
Well, that's my job, is to figure this maze out. For mine and 3 other committee members and.
So, and I understand your point, Bob, but the one thing that we're staring down the barrel of a gun out there on our project.
Yep.
We've got builders standing out here saying, we don't get this, we're going to Hobbs, we're going to Carlsbad. And that's just the way it is. And you can drive down to either one of those communities and see them building and prospering every day. And you can drive through here, and I can go down West Second and look at every commercial building's got at least one piece of plywood up on a window. Just about, it's everywhere you go in this town. And we need to, we've got to make some decisions here pretty quick. And a big portion of it's based on this right here, because I've got millions and millions of dollars hung out, and we're either gonna throw in the towel or we're gonna make it happen. We're at a cut bait point right now.
So, actually, I would have to say that I completely acknowledge the position that you're in and would ask, so I think what a lot of Councilor Corn is referring to is there were a lot of promises made that we have to figure out how to fund, and you're being one of them. We recognize your position and hope that you will recognize ours.
Certainly have.
So I understand, and this is kind of where it's a pickle for me because, I am all about doing the things that move us forward and creating the growth. And I'm constantly studying and educating myself on how to help Roswell achieve exactly what you're talking about. That leads me to the question I did have. Mr. Mavers, is it possible to create a fund or grant opportunities? Are there grant opportunities on the federal or state level for programs such as this?
Not that I'm aware of. I do know that there are grant money, community development block grants and other things that but they typically are for low to moderate income housing and things like that. This was designed to be a market rate program.
Sure. Okay. So gentlemen, can you please advise, I'm sorry, yes, sir.
If I could just ask a question, what is the amount of money that we are anticipating to allocate for this program?
It was originally anticipated at $1 million. Tonight, we're talking about 750. I don't know what that number is.
Because we have so much.
I know that I can't, based on the information I've heard, which is good information. I'm not picking your numbers. But when you break down those funding sources, and if you're trying to make a decision based on what your actual costs are, and this breakdown, it looks like it takes you 9 years.
Based on 100 homes per year for 9 years.
Well, no, I understand, and so.
And year 2, the expected time.
Well, and I'm going to look at this and probably call you.
Certainly.
And because I'm not convinced. I mean, whenever you talk about property tax and then our little cut of that, where you're talking about gross receipts tax, it's still our cut of that. Not, and it's easy for you or other people to say, look at that and go, it's at the 7% rate for gross receipts or whatever it is in Roswell right now. But I've got to worry about what little bit of that trickles back into Roswell. The city right here, this building, not, and I don't care what the county gets, but they get part of that action.
GRT.
That's what I'm saying.
So on the GRT of the home, you're talking about property tax, right?
No, I'm talking about mix or match. I mean, it's the same situation. It's just a different, you pull it out of a different pocket. You either pay property taxes on the project or you pull gross receipts money out of the other pocket. But the same matrix is involved. I'll use that term. That so-and-so gets a little bit of the activity.
This is what they're basing it on.
I understand that.
Because the state's already been taken out of this. And this looks a little
Judy,
high to me.
Thank you. I appreciate that. But you've got to go back and then I know, I do the same thing. I go, the whole rate is this. But then you got to break out who gets what of it. And then recalculate it. And like I say, as I stated, I just got this. Well, I haven't had a chance to sit here and go through and verify. And there's some assumptions here. 900 units. Do the same assumptions work if we're talking, and that's based on 100. You said 100 houses in 9 years, but now we're talking about 75.
But the number is the number. And the one thing that's in the city's benefit, that when we did the math on this after 24 years and there being $27 million in there, that's based on the fact that the property taxes never increase for the next 24 years.
Well,
that study is very conservative. And I believe that is and it takes in no GRT, no factor for any GRT that is generated by the construction, at the time of construction, other than the sale of the home. But the builders that are out there building, it doesn't take in their GRT, nor does it account for any GRT that a four-person family that buys a house out there, it's gonna generate this. And I understand where you're at, Bob, did his math, I get it, that's your job. But there's not a better offer coming to the city of Rockland. And if we build 100 homes here and you guys spend $1 million, the GRT generated at the day of the sale is $8,125,000. So when you're back here looking at, well, we got to spend $1 million, you're spending less than $200,000 a year because you're getting that money back. And as soon as the nuts cut, that money comes back. And then you get property taxes until that house collapses or you gotta spend $20,000 to repair it. So I don't know where you get a better deal than that, but they're not sitting in this one.
Madam Chair, the reason that I asked the question is because obviously, I guess we're going to be asked to take action on this particular item. And if we don't have a dollar amount attached to it, it'd be very hard to try and or at least for me, it would be very hard to support it. If I don't see an amount that we're anticipating that we're going to spend.
You're saying that will kind of create that first come, first serve, but you're saying you want to see an allotted amount, that this is what we're going to spend per year on this. And that way you know specifically how much you're
It may or may not get spent.
Right.
It's kind of like the other night, whenever we authorized the city animal shelter, 6 new positions. Our city manager, acting city manager, was looking at the 325. And he said, this is for a full year. We're already halfway through and we haven't even got them hired yet. So how much of that money's can actually be spent? I don't know. And that's why we've got to do this, but it's a limit. In this program, if I tell Kevin that he's got $50,000 to go spend and he spends it and then he's out of business till I tell him he's got more money.
Right.
So
That's what I'm saying.
It's got some limiting factors. I mean, I've been doing this budget stuff for a long time. But there's always more need than there is dollars.
But what I'm saying is the way the resolution is written, it has no dollar amount attached to it.
And that's a problem.
Okay. Sub is saying she is. Now, so that being said, if you guys could advise me, because I have something here to try to actually bring forth, I need a motion. And at this point, as I understand in our rules, we actually either send it forward with a do not recommend or recommend. And that's why you can advise me otherwise. But I think we need to move it forward. Okay, we held it last time.
Well, this, you have to know, we got
For discussion on
this is another question than what we had before us the last two.
presentation.
That's the same conversation we previously had. Actually, we didn't have the conversation last time, if you recall.
Yeah, you tabled it last time.
Right.
Well, the last two times we were tabled.
Yeah, last two.
So it actually does have a $750,000 dollar amount attached to it. So if we pass it, we're basically saying that we are ready to.
You want to write a check, we'll put it in a line item. I mean, listen, we didn't get our first quarter review done last week because the treasurer was sick. And I think I know where I'm at, but I'm not real sure I know where I'm at.
When are you having your budget review again?
Well, I talked to Mr. Fuentes just a minute ago. We're not going to have it next week, but we're going to have it the week after. And
Madam, yeah, I think we discussed about having it before the regular meeting.
Yes.
Either Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. I'll be sending out an email to the committee.
Okay, so would you have some form of knowledge by the next council meeting. That's not been canceled, right? Okay, everything else is being canceled around me, so.
Well, I will say, I hope so. But and that depends on if we can get through a quarterly review in a meeting. I don't know that you can do that. I mean.
You mean in the city council meeting?
No, I'm talking
about your meeting.
Finance committee.
Okay.
And there's nothing, it's informational. There won't be anything to be voted on by the city council, but I invite everybody that's on the city council and the public, it's the public's money, to come in and review. I can't even tell you who's overspent their budget. I don't know how many of them are over 25% of their budget already spent, or how much of them spent nothing. I don't know.
I'll be there.
Department heads are in control of their line items. And if they're not spending their money, which I would be greatly surprised if they're not overspent. Mr. Mayor, I'll yield to the mayor for a minute.
Well, I'm just looking and, I think some of the things we've been discussing about what was obligated by the previous council. But, there's 14.6 million there somewhere that was obligated. That also, the amount of money, in just looking at our budget and looking at the amount of monies that we are required to keep 130% of our payments in every bond account. I don't believe we have that.
No, we don't.
So, I don't know that we can add an expenditure of $750,000 if we're not already abiding by the law, not to mention other things that we've been assessed. I would just be a little leery before I commit to doing something $750,000 if we already have if there's some question about whether or not we're living up to the required statute till we have to pay our bonds back. And that is something that we don't have a choice on that, or else if we don't have that, I don't know if we get a higher bond rate or what. But that money.
You won't get a higher bond rate, Mayor. You just won't be able to sell any more bonds.
Ms. Arnold, you've got another option there. You can forward it to the council with no recommendation.
That's kind of what I've been asking, yeah.
That's probably your best bet.
That's what I've.
No, but your best bet, Mr. Flynn.
Well.
Not my best bet, because then it's another. I understand, but this is a public meeting and it's open to the public, and I just happen to be a member of the committee. So I've got a little voice in this deal. But if that happens and the council approves it, and I'm telling you, it's a great idea. I just got to figure out how to make it happen. Mr. Mitchell, give me $10 million. Check right here. Can you do that? I don't know if you can or not, but but if you can, you tell me to go fly a kite, right? And that's what I'm telling you gentlemen right here. You're asking for $750,000, not you individually. I get that, but for this program, I can't warranty the check will clear.
Oh, I understand. And I'm not here to argue, but I will say, if you guys commit $1 million to this deal next year, just round numbers, it's easy math. After the GRT on where the houses are built, you get 8.125 million of it back. So if you commit 750,000, your exposure is 140 grand. The math is simple. Yeah, I can't. I understand.
I'm not arguing your math. I just need to sit down. A great president once said, what did he say exactly? He said, believe but verify. Trust but verify. And I just need some time to verify. You walk in with this stuff.
Oh, I just had it.
And I appreciate you doing it.
I commissioned that study by Baylor because I didn't think everyone understood this in its entirety. Unfortunately, we've been here a year and a half. And that's the, and it's time for me to, it's getting time for me. And I have been over backwards of the city of Roswell, and I do it every day between construction here, put that concrete plan in on the request. I did this program due to a request from the city of Roswell. By God, we're gonna have to do something here shortly. And I'm not threatening anybody, I ain't here to threaten anybody. But I have this data, I appreciate it.
Well,
Madam Chair,
Mr.
I'm sorry.
You know, you can be, I didn't create this mess either, neither did any of us.
I totally understand.
So, you know, you get mad, but don't be getting mad at us because.
Mr. Mayor, I will say something to you. I spend more money or as much money as anybody in this freaking community. And I sit there at breakfast every morning. When you walk in, you don't even acknowledge I'm sitting at the damn table. And if you're going to run this city, I expect everybody to get on board and run this son of a bitch.
Well,
I'm doing my part.
I thought you were the one that wasn't talking.
So I expected, I know Bob Horn. Bob, if you'd come see me. I sit right there every day. Sit down, I'll buy you breakfast tomorrow. I'm the easiest guy in town to get along with. But I'm extremely frustrated with this program.
Well, I get your frustration, but you know, I've just been on board this thing for a little over 6 months.
For 6 months.
Yeah.
I've been out there spending money every day for 6 months, Bob.
I get
Out of
it.
my ass pocket.
No, I get it. I understand. I understand your viewpoint.
This problem.
But you.
It's not a problem. It's a gift to the city of Roswell. Nobody can see it.
It's not a gift if you can't pay it.
You can't get the ball
I'll
rolling.
make your money 10 times over. I proved it to you tonight, right here. If you want to sit down and I'll go over with you, I'm a rational person.
Where do you eat breakfast?
I would love, over there at Helly's. You guys are welcome. Come up later. Where? Helly's. Over there at,
Second Street.
Second and.
A second.
Yep.
With second.
Oh, we ate there.
But I'll buy you breakfast, love to. I'd love to sit down and see where we're headed with this deal. I'd like to help out with the cent. I got a million things I could offer you guys. But I come in here and it's, well, shit, we don't know what we can do.
Well,
Let's get together, figure something out.
nobody asked me before. You know, you can get all the major C's, I get on you.
Bob, I didn't take the job to help the public. And I've got a lot of faith in you. I told everybody I knew, vote for you guys. That's what needs to happen.
Well,
I got it. Let's do something with it.
we're gonna get there.
And I hate to get mad, but I ain't gonna sit over there and go through this BS every night. I sat here in these meetings till midnight to not hear my cases heard. And, you know, we've gone through this stuff. I want to get on board, but it's cut bait.
I got one last question. Do you think you need
Appreciate it.
housing in this community?
Need what?
Housing?
Oh, that's what I'm told. I agree. I don't need a house, but.
Do you think you need housing for the community to grow? Here's your opportunity. You don't take it, you know.
You know, there are other things though. I mean, we have some expenses that we have to take care of in this community. And I understand where you're wanting some. All I'm telling you is we came in here on April 1st and started our budget. We had it done by the 30th and we didn't create what we're dealt with.
Well,
but we have to fix it.
You know.
And that's you're ignorant of it. And I mean, and that's not your fault because we didn't know a lot about it either.
We're offering you a solution to one of your problems, and that's housing. And it's a good deal. You spend very little to get a lot. But if you guys don't see it, you don't see it.
But
I'm saying that
We
it's
do
figured
see
out
it.
how to do it.
Don't say that. It's bigger than that.
Madam Chair, can I make a recommendation
Please.
that we send this particular item to finance? The finance review it, because we spend a lot of time on this issue.
Well, it doesn't matter if I want it or not. I mean, that's where it's
do you
gonna.
like the idea?
It's got to go. You're in charge of these.
And I'm not sure that the mechanics of this thing are where they really need to be yet. I quite frankly haven't had a chance to because I've been worried about what I'm supposed to worry about, that's our finances. To be able to pull this stuff together and go over it. I've been to one meeting with you right across the hall and probably need another one of those. Or maybe two. And I'm willing, I'll dedicate the time.
Well, I personally believe this program has value and merit. I do think it's something that we should actually focus on trying to figure out. I recognize, gentlemen, because I'm very aware of all the other things that are over us. But at the same time, I believe not only, I mean, I recognize Mr. Mitchell is the only one and Mr. Dennis are the only ones that show up. But I do believe that this is actually an opportunity for the infill for our ward. And so that's why I'm kind of, if it's an opportunity to start infilling Ward 1, I'm looking at all measures possible. So I'm just asking for consideration. Would you like to actually send it to finance? We need to make a decision to move on.
I'll make a motion that we recommend to send this to finance and let them address the issue.
Yeah, we'll look at it.
Yeah, I know you will.
I need a second.
It has to go there.
Okay.
It
So-
should be considered with every other bill we have.
Well,
All those,
I got it.
okay. Well,
My list keeps growing, Mary. It doesn't ever slow down.
I actually have only had a piece of chicken today, so I'm getting hangry, okay?
Aye.
So, okay, all those, we have a motion on the table to, to actually move this to Finance Committee. All those in favor?
Aye.
I guess I vote with that. Aye. All opposed?
A little housekeeping.
Please.
The chairman left for the purposes of the meetings. He showed me his clock on the way out at 4:54.
Right.
So
That's
I
what we
don't
gotta
know if
make
you
one.
caught that or not,
Yes.
but I wanted to get that done. And I will say that this, I agree, this is a great opportunity. But if I can't write the check, I can't write the check.
Right, to check.
You know,
Okay. So let's go ahead and move to item, what were we on there? We're on item number 5, amendments to the zoning ordinance related to special use permits and condition use permits. Mr. Rogers, I believe that's you.
That is me again. There we go. Okay. Over the past year and a half since I've been working for the city and watching the increase in the number of developers coming in, builders coming in, different types of businesses, we've determined, and by we, I mean city staff, planning and zoning commission, even the city council, determined that the zoning ordinance needs to be updated dramatically. We weren't able to get on it as quickly as we'd hoped because we had the cannabis ordinance we had to work on. As we were working on the cannabis ordinance, we realized that the sections of the zoning and the zoning ordinance relating to conditional use permits is pretty much non-existent. It has no teeth in it. It has no, it's not codified in a way that allows us to utilize that tool, that development tool, in a way that enhances that. So, oops, go back to the beginning of it. Oh. We'll get the 2 slides. Oh, there we go. Anyway, this is the first, what we hope, in a series of amendments. We're going to be working through this particular section, and then we're already going to begin working on the Articles 50, 52, and 60, which is our development requirements, our standards of development, and our sign ordinance. Those will be coming up next. But right now, we're dealing with primarily the special use permits and conditional use permits. In your packet, you should have 2 versions of the updated ordinance that was approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission. You have a red line version, which shows all the things that we pulled out and put back in. And then you've also got a clean version, just so you can read it and understand where it is we're trying to go. Next to we do want to support and collaborate with RCC, EDC, Mainstream Roswell, and the NMEDD, and that require for us to collaborate successfully, we need to update the zoning ordinance for a variety of new developments, including mixed-use developments. it looks like Main Street Roswell is going to be moving towards much more, a greater opportunity for mixed use there. Adaptive reuse, we talked about that just for a few minutes earlier tonight. The ability to take older buildings, to convert them, say, from offices into affordable housing. It also gives us flexibility in staff review of new development programs and most important, the ability to establish conditions of approval for SUPs and CUPs that include enforcement capabilities. This is where our current zoning ordinance really lacks any kind of substance, okay, is on our enforcement abilities. We have projects all around town, one that Councilor Oropesa is very familiar with, that we've had great difficulty getting them to get into compliance with what they were supposed to be doing back 5-6 years ago, all right? But because we have no enforcement capability, okay, we can't get anything done. Next slide. So our staff recommendation is to review the proposed ordinance and to recommend to the city council that set a date to consider adoption of the ordinance, amending the City of Roswell zoning ordinance, which is Appendix A. I kind of thought that was kind of interesting. It's Appendix A. It's not numerically in line as it relates to special use permits and conditional use permits. Other than that, I should have questions.
Gentlemen, any questions?
Well, I need to find that
This
stuff.
is a recommendation to authorize to advertise for public hearing. So this is to put it on for public hearing.
You have to do that for the.
Right, okay. I heard about it. Okay. You need help finding it?
Well, I was digging through this
Mark?
mess and I got a little curved, those guys.
Yeah, exactly.
It's lease agreements. It's not in that part of the stack.
No. Definitely, and it kind of, it's red. It's got red on it.
Well,
But this is to go to reading, or this is a proposal for
Yeah, just
reading.
to move it on to city council to set it for full public hearing and review. So yeah, it's two-step process.
Advertise. So we'll have to. Okay, we still got some time.
Madam Chair, if there's no more questions from the committee, I would like to move to recommend to authorize to advertise for a public hearing for this particular ordinance.
I get a second? That's kind of what I was holding for, his reading.
I just figured out how to stop stuff in the tracks. Just don't second it.
You don't have to second it. She can second it.
It's acting chairman.
I didn't know you could as acting chair.
Yes, ma'am. Mrs.
Okay.
You can.
Yeah, you can.
I'll-
I'm just pulling his string.
I know, so I'm
And yours a lot.
gonna take some action. Okay, I'll second it. So all those, I got a motion on the floor for amendments to the zoning ordinance related to special use permits and conditional use permits. Recommending to authorize to advertise for public hearing for ordinances to go to full council. Is that what you said? Mhm.
I've got
Okay.
one quick question.
You're behind on the 8 ball.
Huh?
You're behind on the 8 ball. Okay, go ahead.
Excuse me, I'm running dollars through my mind.
Okay.
So is this one of the things that goes through your planning and zoning group? Have they looked at this?
Correct, yes, they have.
And they've okayed all
Yes,
this? Like,
yeah, Planning and Zoning Commission approved this and motion to send it on to legal at the last Planning and Zoning Commission meeting.
you probably said that and I apologize.
You did.
My mind is kind of going into overdrive here. Or not.
We're doing our best to follow the prescribed course of action.
No, I appreciate that. I've been up to my ears in alligators here the last couple of weeks.
Get in there. Go to the next slide.
Okay, so I'm gonna call for a vote. Are you ready?
No, but you're going to call for it anyway.
That's right. So All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Hearing none. Moves to which city council meeting is it? January or December?
December.
Okay. To the December city council meeting. All right. Next item. Now that you found ordinance paperwork, we can actually start digging for the next set of paperwork.
Yep, I got it.
We're going to look at resolution 22XX, a resolution of support for CVE North America to collaborate in a community benefit partnership program. That sounds pretty. Oh, Mr. Mavers.
It's me again, yes. I knew you guys missed me because I wasn't here the last meeting or two, so
keeping us busy.
I'm quadrupling up this month. So this is a very simple little resolution of support. CVE North America has approval to build a community solar array. I believe it's on the west end of Second Street right now. One of their funding and financing mechanisms for all these community solar arrays comes from the state. It's a point awarded system, and they get additional points, additional credit, greater opportunity to build this facility if they enter into a collaborative agreement with the city where they provide some of their profits back to the city so that we can then distribute them to our various nonprofit organizations. Okay? All this proposal, all this resolution does is say, essentially, we support the program. We believe that it's a wonderful idea for you to give $100 per subscriber and $5,000 per year for other things to our local nonprofit organizations, which the city does get to choose. We get to come up with a list as part of this. And that's basically it. Our responsibility begins and ends with putting together a list of appropriate nonprofits. When somebody signs on to their program to take advantage of the lower cost of electricity through the community solar program, they get to then look at and they check a box where they would like that donation to go. And it's $100 per subscriber. And I think there's another $5,000 in there for something else. But it was, when I read the program and I looked at it, it came off as being very, very simple, something I think that we can all get behind, especially supporting our nonprofits. I did have the city attorney review the proposal, and he agreed with me that there's literally zero exposure for the city at this point. And so at this point, we're asking for your affirmation of this resolution of support. Move it on to the city council.
Madam Chair, we're talking about the 1600 block of East Second, right?
I believe so, yes.
And that just came before us not too long ago. And I had to recuse myself. When this issue came up, so I guess I'm going to have to ask for a legal opinion if I have to recuse myself again. Because if I do, then you won't have one.
People.
We'll have a court, we'll have a.
And I absolutely don't want to violate any ordinances or statutes or whatever.
Counselor, actually, if it's a recusal for cause, it does not affect quorum. So you could, this one could.
Okay. So does, yeah.
So
you're saying I'm okay?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
you're
you
okay.
can recuse.
Okay.
You're still present.
And it doesn't affect our quorum.
Yeah.
Guess my question is whether he's recused himself at all. The only thing we're doing is supporting this is just a resolution of support for a program that the council will neither receive any direct benefit from or anything else, not like the potential impact to property values. I believe that was the reason you recused yourself in the last one, just because your wife and your daughter own property.
Right, within that 100.
In that proximity. Right.
Yes.
This is just for the benefit of this community program. It has nothing to
benefit
do-
for the community as a whole. There's no direct benefit. I don't believe any conflict of interest with Councilor Oropesa. The fact that, yes, they do have property near the site, but this has nothing to do with the site itself. This is the program for authorizing distribution of funds to our local nonprofits.
Okay, so that being said, any further questions?
I'm ready to vote.
All right, then I'm going to call for a vote. You want to give it? I'm going to call for a motion. Come on.
Well, I thought you already had a motion.
No, we didn't do a motion. Yeah, no, we asked a question.
Well, what motion do you want, Mr. Chair?
I would like a motion to, I guess, get this done.
Okay, you got a motion to get this done.
The city council, put it on the consent calendar.
I don't know, is this one a consentable item?
This is a resolution, I don't believe so.
Okay, move this community benefit partnership program on for approval at the city council.
I'll second it with the understanding that I can.
I thought you were gonna make her second.
I can again.
Second. So, okay, so we have a motion, resolution 22XX, a resolution of support for CV North America to collaborate in a community benefit partnership program to be added to full council, to the next full council. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Hearing none, this motion passes. Now, next, we actually have department reports. Do we hold off on those generally, or do we give those?
Madam Chair, there's all the department heads for those three departments here, legal, safety, HR. The reports are in your packet. If you have any questions, they're here to answer your questions.
Any questions of our department heads, gentlemen? No? Okay, let me see, chair comments.
Gotta go to public participation,
Thank you.
anybody's left.
Okay, so let's go to public participation. Is there anyone in the public that would like to make comments? Let's see. I believe most of the comments on item with Summer.
Oh, there's a bunch of them. Well, okay. First one is you'll have to talk to Mr. Mitchell about his hard sale because he benefits. That's one easy solution. I don't understand the second question.
It's not really, it was, she's just asking if there was benefit.
I don't know, and he's gone.
Right, yeah, I don't have any way to answer any of these. Can you scroll down? Okay. Okay, evidently someone thinks she's wrong, or someone's wrong.
Miss Rita's on a roll.
Okay, so they're having a conversation back and forth.
Whoever one, I don't know who that's directed to, but I think it's, go back up just a little bit. It says, you're wrong. I don't know.
Yes, that person is telling Rita
I
that,
don't
yeah,
know who they're responding to.
right, because Rita responded. Okay,
Not
so,
the first time somebody said I was wrong, so.
is that personal?
I don't know.
Okay, so at this point, hearing nothing from anyone regarding public participation. Yes, sir.
Just a quick item. It touches on both legal and finance. I'm glad you all are here. 5 minutes. During the city council meeting, Councilor Vincent and Councilor Arnold, I believe you both asked a question about the recreation fund is what we was going over when we were talking about the project about the fencing.
Okay.
And I answered the question by saying I wasn't certain. I needed to look into it. Well, this is the information I wanted to just give you all the heads up, just to answer the question. Because the first 2 pages is the ordinance to establish the GRT that goes to recreation. I just highlighted in green those sections. The 3rd page is just an example of a deposit that we collect from the monthly and the GRT, just to kind of highlight that the money goes in. The last page is what I wanted to kind of bring to your attention. And basically, the last page shows that at the very top, the GRT, that money is restricted per the ordinances. But I did block out the charges for services. That money is not restricted. So again, if we were talking about a small amount, that's why I said it all really depends on what we were looking at. So for example, an expense of $200,000, we can argue that, okay, that's within the amount that is unrestricted, could be moved. But if you were to ask me about $1 million, well, the only $1 million is really the GRT money. That's restricted. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention to answer your question that you asked at the council meeting. Again, just being cut off guard at the meeting, I didn't have the answer right off the bat, but I want to show you the supporting documentation that the answer is, it is restricted, but there is a portion that could be transferred.
Okay.
And I'll leave it at that. Yes, sir.
I certainly appreciate you going and figuring this out and providing it for us. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you very much.
You get one.
Okay. That being said, I believe all business, any other business before I call the meeting to a close? Okay, I don't know, do I tap anything? Okay. Okay. Meeting is adjourned at 6:20.
That's good.